C.J. Stroud hit the ground 52 times last season, and in his last game, the playoff loss against the Chiefs, his vulnerabilities showed up in waves. Pressure from all sides, passing windows disappearing, and an offense stuck from the snap. But the question that echoed in the front office throughout the offseason was straightforward: how to protect the quarterback before the damage becomes irreversible. The decisions came quickly, with targeted signings and experienced names signaling a real shift in mentality. Last season exposed an uncomfortable truth for Houston Texans fans. C.J. Stroud, despite all his talent, was constantly under siege in the pocket. 90 times throughout his young professional career, the quarterback was brought to the ground. Not just an alarming statistic, but a genuine cry for help from the backfield against structured and aggressive defenses like the Kansas City Chiefs. Stroud recorded an EPA per dropback of -0.45 when facing blitzes, highlighting a critical vulnerability when confronted with consistent pressure. The last playoff matchup against the Chiefs became a microcosm of the difficulties faced by the young quarterback. His efficiency on third downs plummeted to 18%, with his average time to throw increasing to 3.12 seconds, well above his seasonal average of 2.78. It is not just numbers on a spreadsheet. Each additional tenth of a second represents a defender closing in, a passing window shutting, and a lost opportunity on the field. Faced with this reality, the Texans front office understood that protecting their investment in Stroud was not just a priority, it was an existential necessity. The aggressive reconstruction of the offensive line during the offseason was not merely a personnel overhaul, but rather a clear statement of intent: to give Stroud the environment he needs for his natural talent to flourish without the constant threat of pocket collapse. The solution began on the left flank, the quarterback's blind side. Cam Robinson arrives in Houston as the first piece of the puzzle, bringing with him the experience of 101 games as a starter in the NFL. At 6'6" and 335 pounds of raw strength and refined technique, Robinson represents an immediate upgrade at the left tackle position. His signing, a one-year contract worth $12 million with potential to reach $14.5 million, demonstrates the Texans' commitment to finding immediate solutions without compromising future financial flexibility. What makes Robinson particularly valuable for the system Houston intends to implement is his experience in zone-blocking schemes, with a notable ability to anchor against powerful edge rushers. His kick slide shows technical consistency in maintaining proper depth on the edge set, creating a defensive perimeter that makes external access to the pocket difficult. When we analyze his game tape against opponents using wide 9 formations, it becomes clear how Robinson can effectively mirror speed rushers, a crucial skill in the AFC South, where elite pass rushers dominate the division. On running plays, Robinson demonstrates excellent work in combination blocks with tight ends or guards, especially when he needs to climb to the second level to neutralize linebackers. His ability to recover against inside moves, even when beaten on the first step, provides additional security that could be decisive in critical moments of the game. But Stroud's protection could not be solved by merely reinforcing the blind side. The pressure in 2024 came from all directions, with 52 sacks suffered during the 2024 season in 17 games. This mark was the second highest among starting quarterbacks in the NFL that season, highlighting vulnerabilities across the entire offensive perimeter. That's where Trent Brown comes in, the Colossus standing at 6'8" and an impressive 380 pounds, who arrives to solidify the right side of the line. Brown brings to Houston an intimidating presence and a track record of elite production when healthy. His exceptional wingspan and active hands in the initial punch turn him into a physical barrier against which even the most technical pass rushers struggle to prevail. In 2022, his last full season, Brown participated in 1,032 offensive snaps, 98% of the Patriots' snaps, allowing only 8 penalties, a number within the average for tackles with high repetition volume. What makes Brown particularly valuable for the Texans' scheme is his versatility. Over his 10 NFL seasons, he has accumulated 96 starts in 103 games played, demonstrating the ability to play both as a right tackle, his predominant position, and as a left tackle, as seen in the 2018 and 2022 seasons. This positional flexibility offers the offensive coordinator valuable tactical options, especially considering Tytus Howard's still uncertain physical return. When we analyze Brown's game tape, especially in matchups against elite pass rushers like Chris Jones, we see a player with exceptional pad-level control and active hands to neutralize defensive advances. Despite his unconventional size, he maintains technical discipline until the final whistle, a rare characteristic for men of his stature. In 2023, before injuring his patellar tendon, Brown was ranked as the 13th best offensive tackle in the league in overall performance with a top 10 ranking in run blocking. But the reinvention of the Texans' offensive line does not stop at the edges. Inside, where direct pressure can be even more devastating for a young quarterback like Stroud, Houston sought experience and reliability in the form of Laken Tomlinson, a guard with 163 games of NFL experience and a Pro Bowl on his resume. Tomlinson arrives as a symbol of durability in a position notoriously susceptible to injuries. With 131 consecutive starts and 6 straight seasons registering 100% of his team's offensive snaps, he represents a safe haven inside the line, something the Texans simply did not have in 2024 when they had to shuffle through 6 different combinations due to injuries. Although he is not a dominant force in the running game, Tomlinson stands out for his stability in passing situations. His ability to anchor against bull rushes combined with refined pre-snap recognition of stunts and disguised blitzes brings a significant upgrade to the interior of the offensive line. At 33 years old, he still displays sharp game reading and firm hands at initial contact, attributes crucial for extending pocket time and allowing Stroud to execute more elaborate read progressions. Particularly important is Tomlinson's previous experience in zone blocking systems under Kyle Shanahan and Mike LaFleur, tactical models that influence the Texans' new offensive coordinator, Nick Caley. This familiarity with concepts similar to those Houston intends to implement makes him a naturally adaptable piece to the scheme, accelerating the collective learning curve of the unit. During his successful years in San Francisco, Tomlinson was consistently ranked among the league's best guards in zone blocking efficiency, including a second-place ranking among 46 evaluated athletes in 2020. His spatial understanding and lateral mobility were fundamental in opening lanes for running backs on outside zones and stretch runs, elements that, if incorporated into the Texans' offense, could establish a fluid running game that reduces pressure on Stroud. When analyzing the set of acquisitions, we notice a clear philosophy from general manager Nick Caserio to build an offensive line that combines experience, technical versatility, and situational knowledge to create a stable environment where Stroud can develop his game without the constant threat of pocket collapse. It is not just about seeking individual talents, but about forming a cohesive unit that works in sync to neutralize the complex defensive schemes of the modern NFL. It is important to consider the impact of these additions beyond traditional statistics. When Stroud faced disguised coverages and four-man pressures in 2024, his post-snap reading process was often compromised by instability in the pocket. The presence of veterans like Robinson, Brown, and Tomlinson brings not only physical protection, but also collective intelligence to identify stunts, twists, and disguised blitzes even before the snap, adjusting protections and giving the quarterback the necessary calmness to process defensive information more clearly. Yes, the Texans' approach also reflects a sophisticated understanding of young quarterback development. Internal studies from various NFL organizations demonstrate that early career passers tend to show more consistent technical progression when operating behind a stable offensive line. The constant rotation of protectors in 2024 not only exposed Stroud physically, but also affected his ability to establish consistent timing with receivers on medium and long developing routes. From a tactical perspective, the new line configuration allows offensive coordinator Nick Caley to explore more varied concepts in the playbook. With Robinson anchoring the left side and Brown stabilizing the right, the Texans gain flexibility to implement slide protections, max protection in critical situations, and more elaborate play-action schemes that naturally counter defensive aggression. The addition of Tomlinson in the interior especially facilitates the execution of RPO run-pass option concepts with greater efficiency, allowing Stroud to operate in clean pockets even against defenses attempting to collapse the interior. When we particularly observe the matchup against the Chiefs, which served as a thermometer of offensive limitations, we see how this new line could transform the dynamics. Kansas City's defense alternated four-man pressures with disguised coverages, forcing Stroud into rushed reads. With Robinson controlling edge rushers on the blind side, Brown neutralizing bull rushes on the strong side, and Tomlinson stabilizing the interior against stunts, the pocket would maintain its integrity long enough for Stroud to complete his read progressions and find receivers in safe windows. Especially relevant is the impact of these acquisitions on third downs, situations where pass protection is tested to the limit. In 2024, Stroud's efficiency in these critical scenarios dropped to 18% against aggressive defenses like the Chiefs. The presence of reliable blockers in obvious passing situations allows the quarterback to keep his eyes downfield even under imminent pressure, significantly increasing the conversion rate in these decisive moments. The investment in Robinson and Tomlinson also brings benefits to the Texans' running game, an element often overlooked when discussing quarterback protection. An efficient running game naturally reduces the aggressiveness of pass rushers, creating second and short or third and manageable situations that limit the defensive repertoire of pressures. In particular, Robinson's ability to seal the edge on outside zones and Tomlinson's work in combination blocks at the second level can transform Houston's rushing attack into a complementary weapon that indirectly protects their franchise quarterback. Another subtle but equally important aspect is the issue of communication on the line. With 9 different offensive line combinations throughout 2024, the Texans struggled with problems identifying mic points and making protection adjustments. The addition of experienced veterans like Tomlinson with over 160 games in his career brings valuable situational knowledge to organize the line in real time, especially against defenses that constantly use pre-snap shifts to confuse blocking assignments. It is clear that there are considerations regarding the age and recent history of the new signings. Tomlinson, at 33 years old, comes from inconsistent seasons in New York and Seattle. Brown faced significant physical issues, playing only 3 games in 2024 before being placed on injured reserve with a patellar tendon injury. Even Robinson, despite his technical consistency, allowed 49 pressures in 419 opportunities last season, according to PFF metrics. However, even with these caveats, the potential upgrade is undeniable when compared to the previous situation. The Texans' offensive line allowed 52 sacks in 2024, the third worst performance in the NFL. Any incremental improvement would already represent a significant gain in protecting Stroud, especially considering his natural talent for processing defensive information when given adequate time in the pocket. Casario's decision to seek temporary solutions with short-term contracts also deserves attention. By opting for one-year deals with veterans like Robinson and Brown, the front office maintains financial flexibility for the future while addressing an immediate critical need. This approach allows the Texans to continue evaluating long-term options in the draft or in future free agency periods, while providing Stroud with an immediately more protected environment for his development. When the ball is snapped for the 2025 season, Texans fans will finally get a clear view of C.J. Stroud's true potential operating behind an offensive line rebuilt with purpose and strategic vision. If the pieces fall into place as projected, Robinson controlling the blind side, Brown imposing his physical presence on the right side, and Tomlinson stabilizing the interior Houston's offense, could take a significant qualitative leap, transforming those 3.12 seconds of desperation into productive time for their franchise quarterback to dissect defenses with the precision and calmness he demonstrated in his best moments. The reconstruction of the Texans' offensive line is not just a technical fix, it is a philosophical statement. By aggressively investing in Stroud's protection, the organization shows it understands that developing a talented quarterback requires more than just weapons on the perimeter or sophisticated schemes. It requires fundamentally time and space for natural talent to express itself without the constant fear of collapse. And if there is one thing that Robinson, Brown, and Tomlinson offer in common beyond their vast experience and specific technical skills, it is exactly that: the promise of time and space for C.J. Stroud to transform his undeniable potential into consistent elite production. What do you think about the Texans' new offensive line? Do you believe it will be enough to unlock C.J. Stroud's full potential? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and remember, we are Texans.